Hello, my name's Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for November 16th to November 22nd of 2014. And on November 16th, we have the sun, and we can see it denoted here in this diagram as the black circle with a dot in it. It's in Scorpio, and it's in the 43rd hexagram. And we can see the stack of lines on the outside of the wheel for the 43rd hexagram, numbered from bottom to top, go yang, 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 yin. And the 43rd hexagram is then mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here we have the 43rd gate of insight, breakthrough. In order for achievement to be maintained, a new order must be fairly established. It's located in the Ajna Center in a individual energy path in the knowing circuit called the Channel of Structuring, a design of individuality, genius to freak and freak to genius, that connects to the 23rd gate of assimilation, splitting apart, amorality, the awareness and understanding which leads to acceptance of diversity. And I've found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on November 16th. We have the sun in the 43, the earth is in the 23, the north node is in the 57 with the south node in the 51. We have Mercury in the 44th gate, and then Venus is in the 14th gate along with Saturn. Mars is in the 54th gate. Jupiter is in the 4th gate. And we have Uranus is retrograde in the 21st gate. Neptune is actually just turning direct on the 16th in the 55th gate. And then Pluto is in the 38th gate. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your human design chart, because some of these transits form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And you can get your human design chart by going to jovianarchive.com, click on the button that says get your free rave chart, and then enter in your birth information. So the neutrino forecast is just a weather report. No matter what the weather, an individual's strategy and authority is the correct choice to have an authentic experience regardless of the program. As Ra Uru said, whatever the weather is going to be, you have your neutrino umbrella. As long as you're experimenting with your strategy and authority, the weather is for your pleasure. And as we begin the week, we have one channel definition due to the transit field. We have the sun in the 43rd gate, and the earth is in the 23rd gate, giving us the channel of structuring until November 16th. And this is about individuals having amazing insights that require two conditions be fulfilled to be recognized by others. First, a person who has an epiphany needs to wait to be invited to share his or her insight. And second, they need to explain their idea in a step-by-step process so that their audience can methodically understand how this quantum leap in thinking was arrived at. More likely, this is going to be a time period when people blurt out whatever's on their mind, so I expect we're going to encounter more freaks than geniuses. And as individual circuitry, this definition brings melancholy that's best used in creative activities. And as you will see, melancholy or feeling blue is going to be a theme for this week. Ra would have said that we're going to have some cloudy weather this week. For people who don't experience this through their individual design, they might wake up sad and wonder about the reason, rather than analyzing our relationships with others or our unrealized goals or anything else that we've assigned value to that may be eluding us. We should recognize, as Ra put it, melancholy is a chemistry for creativity. It is the muse. So this is a time to use this energy for creative possibilities. And when you think about the homogenization of most people, billions and billions of people who are unaware of this information, all this melancholy sadness of this time period that emphasizes individual activations has an impact on the world around us. And I'd expect people will wonder why they feel sad and look for the reasons in their external world. For those of us who understand that this is simply an aspect of individual activations in the transit field, we can recognize that this too shall pass. And if our strategy and authority leads us This energy is a fuel for creativity, particularly creativity engaged for the satisfaction of the artist, musician, poet, writer, or any other type of individual creator. If someone else is moved by the creativity, that's wonderful, but the individual empowers by following their own path. We're going to be looking at the sun's ravaging line values daily because 70% of the lines 70% of the neutrinos we receive come from the sun. And as Ross said in Living with the Program, the lines of the day, when talking about these shift the line values, he said we can always take advantage of the themes of the day. If your strategy and authority doesn't lead you in that direction, you can always notice how the program's affecting others in your environment. So let's get started. On November 16th, we begin with the sun in the 6th line. It's in the role model line, up on the roof of the hexagram. And the sun is exalted in the 43rd hexagram in the 6th line as breakthrough. Exalted actualization and centering that in breakthrough naturally establish both internally and externally a new order. Unique knowing that is both personally and collectively of value. And 6 line days, basically we're on the roof of the hexagram. If you're on the roof of the house, you might be looking at other things in the neighborhood, not so much at the house you're standing on. And so Ra talked about that people may be unfocused on what's happening in their immediate environment, and that not to get stuck with their head in the clouds because something can bang into the kneecaps. Later on the 16th, the sun moves out of the 43 and the Earth out of the 23. So this definition goes away, and the sun moves into the 14th hexagram where it joins Saturn and Venus, and the Earth moves into the 8th. So let's just start with the 8th gate. The hexagram this is the gate of contribution, holding together the basic worth realized in contributing efforts and contributing individual efforts to group goals. The shift happens at 5:51 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the sun in the 14th gate of power skills, possession in great measure, the accumulation and retention of power through skilled interaction, coupled with grace, coupling grace with control. And the sun in the 14th hexagram in the first line is money isn't everything. The recognition that wealth has its own problems, exalted the lust for liquor, tempered by higher principles. The key to manifesting power is higher principles. Detrimented the delusion that you can throw money at problems. Energy alone can never be the key. And the sun, when we're looking at the first, second, or third hexagrams, we're in the we're in the lower trigram, and this is a time when people are more looking inward and absorbed in their own process. And the theme of a first line day is fear or an anxiety that needs to be investigated. So it's a day to study, not to act, a day to look into things, not to jump. It's a good day to deal with things that you don't understand, can't make sense of, or don't know. And then also on the 16th, we have Venus moving from the 14th gate, where it's leaving the Sun and Saturn, and it's moving into the 34th gate. So this is a pretty big change. Let's because with Venus in the 34, we then have this definition here. Connecting the sacral to the splenic center. And so let's just start talking about Venus. In human design, Venus is very powerful and deeply misunderstood. According to Ra, it brings morality, natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us. And what disturbs you on a moral level? Well, your design and personality, Venus, Tell us about the moral dilemma that you're going to work with in your life. And then if you don't act with moral clarity, Venus can be unkind in its retribution. Venus in the 34th gate of power. The power of the great. Venus is the power is only great when its display or use serves the common good. And Venus is detrimented in the second line of the 34. Venus, of course, we begin this transit of the 34 in the first line. So it's in the line of the bully, the indiscriminate use of power, exalted, the less negative, the resort to power as a manifestation of frustration, the energy to display power as a response to frustration. Detrimented, the comeuppance that is inevitable destiny of the bully. The ever-present risk of retaliation to power displays. And with Venus moving into the 34 and the North Node in the 57, we have the channel of power, the design of an archetype, which will be with us until November 21st. This channel brings an attunement to the body to have an acute early warning system to anything that is in the immediate environment. This increases our intuitive awareness through the power of sacral response. This may affect folks to feel on guard and alert to any dangers in the moment. This is an animal instinct to engage in battle or jump out of the way in a split-second response from the attunement to sound and vibration. People will be more in tune with what's being said from the tone of voice of the speaker rather than the words spoken. Sometimes this is experienced as a coolness with others. Again, we're looking at individual circuitry. So it's the channel of survival that represents the archetype of what it is to be human. And of course, for us non-generator types, it's going to bring this feeling of wanting to be more busy or being more busy and having more endurance to do work. And then, of course, with the defined splenic center, Ra warned that people with a defined splenic center may give up something that is good for them during a transit that defines the splenic center. And then on the 17th, the sun moves into the second line. So we moved from the investigative line up into the line of the hermit. This shift happens at 4:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the sun in the 14-2. This is described as management, the wisdom that investing in expertise brings rewards, exalted expansion, the ability to delegate responsibility. The key to power lies not in trying to be and do everything alone, detrimented the vanity to be one's own best expert. The key to power is doing everything individually. And second line days, people are waiting for something. They're waiting for a call. People are stuck in their own trip. So it might not be the time to have a great big social occasion because no one's going to really want to come. Also on the 17th, Mercury moves from the 44th gate to the 1. So with Mercury here in the 1, this brings another definition with the defined G and the defined throat. And let's talk about Mercury. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. This is about communication, and Ra talked about that it's not just communication, but of words, but also of music. And what do we need to communicate in life? Well, we communicate the message of our design Mercury through the medium of our personality Mercury. And what might be communicated in the first hexagram? Well, maybe individual creative expression. This is the gate of self-expression, the creative, creation as a primal force, the energy potential to manifest inspiration without limitation. And Mercury is in the first line of the first hexagram, and this is creation is independent of will, exalted. Time is everything. Self-expression, which has its special timing. Detrimented instability leads to distortion. Here, patience is a virtue and revolution a vice. Creative instability unless there is patience. And Mercury moving into the first hexagram and the Earth in the eighth hexagram, this gives us the channel of inspiration. And this energy will be present until the 20th, which will be a time when people have the courage to stand out from the crowd by being their authentic self. This is very creative and is exhibited as self-expression in their own unique way. This is another individual channel, and it brings empowerment to those who model being different and inspirational. Expect people maybe to dress differently from the crowd during this time period. And then on the 18th, the sun moves into the third line. So now we've moved up into the line of the martyr. Again, 14th hexagram, the shift happening at 2:28 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun in the 14.3 is service, the utilization of talent and wealth for the highest good, exalted, selfless contribution to society. The key to power lies in selfless contribution to others, detriment and greed and self-destruction of moral fiber, the power of selfishness to fuel greed. And third line days, the martyr, we're talking about a trial and error process, bonds made and broken, a system of discovery by figuring out what doesn't work. So it's a day maybe to be careful on the roads, be careful swinging doors and swinging elbows in your environment. It's a day where you might have bonds made and broken. A third line day is about a trial and error and that things bump into you. It's a good material day. It's a good day to do business and work on the material plane, but you have to be very careful because things could go wrong. But those things are there to lead to discovery. And then on the 19th, the sun moves up into the fourth line, the opportunist line of the 14th hexagram, and the shift happening at 12:46 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where it is described as security, the concentration on establishing a strong foundation, exalted, projection from assault. The key to power lies in developing skills to ensure strong foundation. Detrimented, overconfidence in meeting the challenge of competition that may threaten the very basis of security. Without proper skills, the inability to guarantee security. And fourth line days, we've moved from the lower trigram, the personal process, now up into the upper trigram, which is transpersonal. So this is a change in perspective from an inward to more looking outward with the themes of friendship, companionship, networking. Fourth line days are great for social interaction. People are more open to networking and being friendly and social. And then on the 20th, the sun moves into the fifth line, so up into the line of the heretic of the 14th hexagram. The shift happening at 11:03 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun's exalted in the 14.5, and it's described as arrogance, the ever-present risk in positions of power, exalted. Innate dignity. Innate dignity is the key to power. And the fifth line is heretical. It's a day of suspicion, but also of universalization, where something can leak out and spread very rapidly like a virus, whether it's a YouTube video that suddenly there's millions of viewings or a Facebook post that goes viral. But there can be a great deal of suspicion and paranoia on a fifth line day, which impacts the nature of relationships. This is really the projection is that it's positive followed by negative. Positive being they could do it, they'd be great at it. And then if the person doesn't do it, can't do it, for whatever reason, it doesn't get done, then the projection turns to negative. So, like I've said in the past, it's not paranoia if they're really out to get you, which the projection field often brings that about. Seduction is also a theme of a fifth line day. And then also on the 20th, Mercury moves from the first hexagram up into the 43, which means this definition goes away. We want to keep the Earth there in the 8th gate. Mercury, again, we talked about it earlier, it's communication. What might we hear communicated when Mercury's in the 43rd gate? Do we fear being rejected? Are we afraid of not being able to explain ourselves? This is the gate of insight breakthrough. In order for achievement to be maintained, a new order must be fairly established. Mercury is in the 43rd hexagram in the first line here of patience. Exalted the recognition that new forms cannot be established until resistance has been eliminated. The depth necessary to bring into form an individual insight. Detrimented and impatience to enjoy the sweets of accomplishment that leaves a sour taste in the mouth. A delight in insight, but a lack of depth to establish it. And then on the 21st, the sun then moves up into the 6th line of the 14. The shift happening at 9:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The sun is also exalted in the 14:6. Humility, wealth, and power at its most exalted. Exalted the enlightened recognition that material success is God's will. Spirituality is the key to acceptance and the source of power. 6 line days, again, we're at the roof of the hexagram. We're looking beyond what's coming next. Is the energy. So it's a day where there's a lack of focus on what's going on around us because folks are looking beyond their immediate environment. And like third line days, there might be certain dangers of not seeing a car coming, not seeing a bill coming. And then also on the 21st, Venus moves out of the 34th hexagram. We're going to leave it there because the sun's going to move there in just a few hours. And Venus moves into the 9. So Venus moves out of the 34. Just real quickly, I'll talk about Venus in the 9. So this is in the 9th gate of focus, the taming power of the small. The potential to be fulfilled through detailed attention to all pertinent aspects. Venus in the first line of the 9th hexagram is sensibility, a balanced, responsible approach to problem solving. Exalted the ability to avoid frustration through the creation of a new form. The power in focusing to create new forms. Detrimented after a hasty and frustrating search, the urge to kick in the door and when the key is in your pocket. The power to generate that which will lose its focus. And like I said, then on the 22nd, the sun moves out of the 14 and into the 34, and the earth moves out of the 8, and it moves into the 20. So, giving us all this definition. And the throat. And we've got the earth is up here in the 20th gate of the now, contemplation, recognition, and awareness. In the now transforms understanding into right action. The shift happens at 7:36 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the sun in the 34th gate of power, the power of the great. Power is only great when its display or use serves the common good. The sun in the 34:1 is the bully, the indiscriminate use of power. Exalted the less negative, the resort to power as a manifestation of frustration, the energy to display power as a response to frustration, detrimented the comeuppance that is the inevitable destiny of the bully, the ever-present risk of retaliation to power displays. And so again, we're starting a new trigram here, we're a new hexagram, and we're in the lower trigram, first, second, third lines. And again, the first line is that we're having a fear or some kind of anxiety that needs to be investigated, needs to be researched, related to the sun moving into the 34th hexagram and in the first line. And then also on the 22nd, Mars moves from the 54 and into the 61. And Mars is in the gate of mystery, inner truth, the awareness of universal underlying principles. Mars is detrimented in the 61st hexagram in the second, third, fifth, and sixth lines. So of course, we're moving direct, and Mars enters in the first line of the 61, occult knowledge, exalted, a natural and a psychic awareness that empowers principles of universalization. The pressure to know the mysteries through esoterics. Detrimented where a reliance on secret knowledge increasingly demands ascetic withdrawal and leads eventually to obscurity, where the pressure to know the mysteries can be so strong that one can be eventually incapable of handling esoteric realities. And Ross spoke about Mars being an extraordinary and immature energy resource that lacks refinement and is subject to outbursts. And Mars represents the warrior archetype. And by following our strategy and authority, we slowly refine the energy of our design and personality Mars from immaturity to wisdom. Okay, so with the Sun-Earth axis, the Sun in the 34, the Earth up here in the 20, and the throat center defined. We have the channel of charisma until November 27th. This will influence us to become busier in the now, where the things we think about become the experiences that we're having. Expect folks to be deeply involved in their daily activities and unaware of the expectations of the other, although they may be more aware given the North Node is in the 57. People are not likely to even notice how busy they are with the possibility of erupting spontaneously without an awareness of why. They'll be in their own little world, out of sight, out of mind. This affects non-generator types in feeling busy and having the endurance to work. But again, don't get used to it. And again, all this that we've looked at today has been individual circuitry, which brings the definition brings melancholy, that, as we talked about earlier, is best used in creative experiences. And then, of course, with the Sun in the 34 on the 22nd, and the North Node in the 57, again, we have the channel of power, where the design of the archetype, which will also be with us until November 27th. This channel brings an attunement to the body to have an acute early warning system to anything in the immediate environment. This increases our intuitive awareness through the power of a sacral response. This may affect folks to feel more on guard and alert to any dangers in the moment. This is an animal instinct to engage in battle or jump out of the way with a split-second response from our attunement to sound and vibration. People will be more in tune with what is being said from the tone of voice of the speaker rather than the words that are spoken. Sometimes this is experienced as coolness by others. but this is individual channel of survival that represents the archetype of what it is to be human. Again, defining the splenic center brings intuition and well-being, and Ra warned that non-splenic people may let go of something that is good for them during a transit defining the splenic center. And individual circuitry, again, we're dealing with melancholy, that we should be channeling into some type of creative activity. And then we've got the Earth in the 20th hexagram and the North Node in the 57th. This is the channel of the brainwave that will be with us until the 27th. Again, we have splenic definition. So intuition, this is another projected channel that needs to be an invitation to be shared. So if during this time period you see the truth, it doesn't mean that you're here to share it. This brings very sharp intuition connected to the throat that moves so fast that the brain cannot understand it until afterwards. It brings intuitive adaptation to ensure survival of those who have this in their rave charts. Folks may find that they can intuit answers that bring wisdom if they can release their fear of the unknown. But if they blurt out their epiphanies without an invitation, they're more likely to find misunderstanding and resistance. So here the sun continues moving through the first hexagram, the 43rd, the 14th, and now we're at the 34, which are the hexagrams that are associated with the Hades god's head, which was discussed in the offering from 2 weeks ago. Next week, or perhaps the week after, we'll be looking at the Prometheus god's head. So no matter what energies are conditioning you during the week, remember this is an experience about being a passenger that's riding in a vehicle driven by the magnetic monopole. So enjoy the scenery. Let the vehicle take you where you need to go through using your strategy and authority. Every day we have is a blessing, no matter what the dramas that beckon to distract us. We're all giving the performance of a lifetime on this world stage. Just take some time to observe the play, observe your movie, as well as act your part by remembering you're a spiritual being that's having a human experience. And I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. And the next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be on November 23rd of 2014. It should be available on the 22nd, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, or YouTube. There's New World Birth presences in all those places. I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose. And I invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or wish to schedule a reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. And I'm very, very grateful for everyone who's gotten a reading or sent in a donation. So thank you all for that. And I certainly encourage anyone who's considering it to please contact me at New World Birth if you do want to make a donation or you do want to get a reading, and I'll send you information about whichever is appropriate. As always, I'm blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for all these ancient mysteries and their application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh. And as Ra would say, love yourself. And as always, I'm really grateful for your awareness of New World Birth and these reports. And so I look forward to connecting with you in the future, whether it's on the radio show, which we're waiting to hear when our next broadcast is going to be, or certainly in a reading or in a future video or whatever. Anyway, all my best to all of you, and I look forward to our next interaction.